The proposed administrative rules from the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission are officially going into effect. So this week on Talking Real, we bring you a quick update of what you can expect to see in all of those rule changes.
All those changes and more in 20 minutes.
Welcome back to Talking Real, brought to you by the Oklahoma Association of Realtors. This is episode 126 of Talking Real. And man, nothing starts out easy, Nabil. It's always a challenge with technology sometimes. We are remote from each other. I'm out of town right now, and so Nabil is holding down the Talking Real studio, and I'm having to remote my way in from across time and space. So Nabil, how are you today?
Doing well. And no matter how many times we do this, there's always a new technical issue that comes up.
Yes. Every time it's different. But you know what? We always figure it out.
That's right.
As far as I know. So far.
And that's what matters.
Yeah. We've had a good track record so far of getting it figured out. So we're going to bring you a maybe relatively quick episode. Every time we talk about bringing you a quick episode, it always ends up being just a normal length episode. So, you know, what are you going to do?
So we're bringing an episode.
But I think this time, yes, so we're bringing you an episode. Maybe it'll be shorter than average, but we'll see. So, man. Nabil, let's talk about the new Real Estate Commission rules that went into effect. Because they're out there, and people should know about this.
They're out there.
So, yeah, they're out there. So these were submitted to the legislature way back when during legislative session. And so they were approved by the Real Estate Commission sometime back. And there's an interesting process. We've probably been over this before on the show, but just to kind of give you a quick refresher on how these rules work. So the Real Estate Commission reviews the rules and they adopt them. They have to send them to the legislature. Now, ordinarily, it's the legislature's job to actually approve those rules. And if they don't, then they would be disapproved, which is basically what happened here for all state agencies. I mean, generally speaking, the legislature just doesn't get the bill done to pass all the administrative rules for all state agencies, which is what happened again this year, specifically as well for the Real Estate Commission. But there's kind of a backstop where the governor can issue a proclamation to approve all the rules if the legislature doesn't pass a bill to approve or disapprove. So that's what we dealt with this year. This is what's happened in years past as well, because the governor looked at it and said, yeah, we should go ahead and let these rules go into effect. So he issued a proclamation, I think last week sometime, I think it was maybe late last week, last Thursday, Friday maybe, for the rules to go into effect. So at this point, the Real Estate Commission rules are approved and will be going into effect effective November 1st, 2020. So that's what you're going to be looking forward to at the end of this year. And we wanted to give you a quick update on what is in those rules so you know what to expect.
Yeah, and let's just jump right into it. I didn't see anything like extremely major in there.
Right. Right.
But there's just a number of tiny little things that changed.
Right. So there's, like you said, there's nothing major. Well, I said there's one major thing that will kind of affect everybody.
Yeah.
Something that's pretty big that will affect new provisional sales associates that will be coming. So this is more for people in the future that you may know getting into the industry. And then other than that, just kind of some cleanup stuff that they've been doing. It starts out with a little thing on how they're going to do the photograph. You used to submit a photograph with your application. Now they're just doing it when you take your test. Nothing major there.
Which guarantees them a recent photograph. It's that day.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. So that's just to make sure that the people taking the test are the same person that is getting their application, asking for the license. So no shenanigans with people taking photos who aren't them. It's good news. Next, we kind of move on to, there's a striking a bunch of language dealing with determining good moral character. And everybody may remember, I think it was last year, there was some big occupational licensing reform stuff that was going on. And one of the things they were doing was taking the requirement for good moral character, these like broad categories of reasons why people may get prohibited from having a license. And instead, it now has to be, okay, your agency has to have a specific list of crimes that if people have committed those felonies within the last X years, then that would be a basis for keeping somebody from having a license. So it tries to better define the specific crimes that could prohibit you from having a license, as opposed to, we know it when we see it, we'll determine at that time if we think this is a problem or not. So
Right.
That's like a really broad way to put that. Probably not a great explanation.
It's kind of defining that, and like you said, it's more black and white than it was subjective before.
Exactly. So we see some of the rule changes there that are dealing with, and you're like, well, wait a minute, why are they determining good moral character from getting a license? Well, all of this is implementing those statutes. There's just, a year-long lag period before they finally can get the rules passed to follow the statute. So that's all that's going on here, is that we are updating the rules to comply with the statutes. So you're going to see, if you look at these rule changes, there'll be a number of things that kind of fit in that category that deal with criminal backgrounds, good moral character, those kinds of things. That's what all that is. So nothing shocking or surprising. It looks like a big change if you're just looking at the rules, if you forget about that statute that already passed. So this is just implementing all that.
Right. There is a one-time application fee of $35 that's being implemented. That was added.
Yes. Yep. And that, I guess we could go ahead and mention, there is pretty broad sweeping changes in fees for the rules that are going into effect.
That was a major thing in this.
Yeah, that's kind of the big thing I think that we can spend a moment talking about is the fee changes. Because you look at it and basically across the board, the fees are being increased somewhere in the range, it varies. So if for your broker's license, if you're a broker, you go from $210 per year, every 3 years, to $280 every 3 years. The broker associate license goes from $180 to $245. The sales associate license goes from $150 to $200. So we're seeing increases, and again, it's kind of all across the board. You'll see these increases some amount, and that is probably the biggest thing that we've seen here is these fee increases, and that probably concerns people. Obviously, nobody wants to pay more money, but it's been, I don't remember how long it's been. I'd be pulling this out of thin air, but it's been quite some time since the Real Estate Commission has actually changed and raised their fees. And, cost of business goes up, right? It's just more expensive. Everything is more expensive. So they have a pretty good cushion they had a pretty good cushion for, excess funds built up that they could kind of live off of. But it's sort of hit that point where push comes to shove, they've got to raise their fees. And this is just kind of bringing them in line with, probably where they need to be today. So you're definitely going to see an increase in those fees that are being charged. But, kind of is what it is. So unfortunately, got to pay more money. But on the bright side, the Real Estate Commission is going to be able to keep their lights on and, again, keep people employed so that they can process applications quicker and they can get through investigations quicker. Like we just talked about last week, how they've gotten really caught up on a lot of their investigations and everything. And so paying the fees is what pays for that, because they don't get money from the legislature. It's only from the fees. So
yeah. And it seems like almost a 30% increase all across the board. And that's not an accurate number. That's correct. That's just a sweeping glance through the numbers.
That's just some quick math in the back of Nabil's head. But I believe it. Sounds good to me. So yeah, so you're going to see that increase. It's going to cost you a little bit more, but again, we're talking, it's not a substantial increase. It's not like you're going to be paying $400 more per year per licensing cycle. It's in the tens of dollars, not in the hundreds of dollars. So that's good at least. So what else? The other big thing is the post-license education requirement for provisional sales associates. So everybody, for the most part, they probably remember this or know this. So you take pre-license education, you take your test, they give you a license. And right now, it's that provisional sales associate license. And then you have 1 year to take all your post-license education. And if you get that done within that year, then you roll over and become a sales associate from being a provisional sales associate. If you don't get your education done, then you basically lose your license and have to go start over back at square one. So what they're changing is, instead of having 1 year to do your post-license education as a provisional sales associate, then you will have 6 months to do it. You'll still have your license for that year, but at that 6 months, if you haven't completed your education, then you become inactive until you complete it. So it's basically trying to just expedite people to move them up and get them to do their education earlier on, so that they don't have an entire year where they're out there potentially not having that education done, and they're just out there, again, having a license, being able to do everything. They're trying to get people educated quicker. So
Right.
Now you've only got the 6 months to get it done. You'll still have your license for a year. You'll just go on inactive after 6 months, and you'll still be able to complete it. Once you complete it, then you can come back, get reactivated, and be good to go as a sales associate. So, yeah, kind of an interesting change.
Yeah, and I mean, I can kind of see that. You know, the longer you are, the more you forget. So the quicker you get your education completed, the more it solidifies it. So maybe that was the thinking behind that too. So
Yeah, for sure. I think it's going to work. You know, this is impacting how we're doing our GRI program, because 3 of our modules for GRI will qualify as your post-license education, but we're having to kind of shift those around and reimagine how we do that so that we can get it done in the 6 months for people. So that it's going to always be possible to get it done in 6 months. So, because we really want to push people through that GRI program. It's fantastic. We love it. But we're having to kind of tweak things a little bit to make sure that we can get that provisional coursework done as well. So, but that's just, don't worry about it. We're going to figure it out. We're going to get it done so that everybody can use GRI.
yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a mathematical challenge, but you know, we'll get through it.
We'll make it happen. So no big deal.
Yeah.
No big deal.
The other change I saw was kind of relating to instructors and,
Yes.
you know, just getting instructors approved for their courses and things like that. And a big change in that was also just the fee. So they just have to pay what was it, $25 fee per course rather than some other amount that it was.
$70, I think.
$70. That's what it was.
Yeah. So they've actually lowered the cost in that respect, but they've raised the cost of your application and renewal fee for your instructor license, basically. It used to be $10, now that's $50. So it's a little bit different. So it's a little bit more to be an instructor, but it's a little bit less to get your course approved. So, you know, all kind of balances out there.
Right, and they've done it by course rather than a group of courses, because before you could do up to 36 hours altogether for $70. Right. Now each course that you teach is $25.
Correct. So depending on how you do that, could cost a little bit more if you do a bunch of different courses. But
right.
Yeah, so if you're an instructor, take a look at that. You know, getting your courses approved and everything will be a little bit different, just on a, you know, cost basis. So that's another change looking forward to there.
And another interesting change in the instructor part of the thing was they struck the in-class instruction from the language. I'm guessing to accommodate for virtual classes.
Yeah, so this is for guest instructors only. So they changed it to where guest instructors may be utilized for in-class instruction is what it said, but they struck that. So now it looks to me like you're going to be able to use guest instructors for, you know, like a Zoom or a webinar type conference, which is cool because obviously we've had to shift everything to online. Incidentally, our GRI course that's coming up next week is going to now be done online and streamed instead of in person. Obviously, we still have spiking coronavirus cases and things like that. And so to make sure that everyone's staying safe and healthy as we can, we're moving that online. So this is the kind of thing where you can bring in a guest instructor and use them even on an online course, which fantastic.
Yeah.
Give people that flexibility to do education in different ways.
Right.
So, Kind of the last thing, there's a little bit of a change for active duty military and military spouse applicants. Again, they just changed from statutes, so they've struck out the language in the rules for how that's handled, and instead it's just done pursuant to the statute. So basically, it's a way to expedite people to get their license if they come in from out of state due to military relocation. Again, just to make sure those people, because they're required to move due to military status, that they're going to have some expedited and different processes for getting a license issued in the state of Oklahoma. So again, something we kind of already knew about. They just are changing the rules to make sure that's cleaned up.
Nice. And I think that covers it.
I think that pretty much covers it. There's some other little just cleanup language in there, nothing major. But that's one of the rules. Just again, be aware that those fees are going to go up a little bit, and some education requirements for anybody new getting in that provisional status, and otherwise just again a lot of cleanup stuff. So again, wanted to make sure you were aware of what was going on there. We always like people to see what those rule changes are so that it's not a surprise, and we love to bring that to you right here on Talking Real. So
yes.
Well, Nabil, what else is going on out there?
Well, as we look towards this holiday weekend coming up, got to remind everyone that application month deadline is this Friday. So
yes,
you have this week until July 3rd to get in your applications and your nominations for the different committees and awards that people can apply for and win. So go to okrealtors.com/applications to be able to access all of that.
Absolutely. It's super simple. We just ask you a couple questions when you are applying for those committees, or if you're nominating somebody. It's very straightforward, very quick process, and we'd love to have you involved here at the state association.
Yes.
Also, by the time you hear this, you probably will have already done it, but we do have a big election today. It's primaries in the state of Oklahoma, so that's kind of going on, kind of exciting. We hope everybody is out there voting. Perhaps if you listen to this and we get it released just early enough, the polls are open until 7 p.m., so make sure you get by there and vote. We want realtors' voices to be heard, so we want everybody. 100% participation from realtors would be perfect. I know we'll never quite get there, but again, hope people get out there and vote. If you didn't have a chance to vote absentee ahead of time, that's what I did. I did the absentee ballot, so I got mine mailed to me, filled it out, had it notarized, mailed it in, so I'm already good. I'm voted. I've got my
Nice.
I vote sticker via mail. I put a stamp on instead of an I voted sticker.
He's got a virtual sticker.
So if you're, yeah. And so for future reference, if you're interested, you can apply at any time. So head on over to elections.ok.gov, and there's an OK voter portal tool, and you can request absentee ballots, and so they will mail that to you, and you can just mail it in, and you will vote. You can do that in the runoffs, you can do that in the general election, and you can request them now. So if you're interested in that and not having to actually go to the polls on election day, go ahead and head over there and check that out, because it's a very convenient way to vote.
I need to do that. What was the website again?
Elections.ok.gov. And right there on the front page, there's a link to, I think it's OK Voter Tool or something, or OK Voter Portal is what it's called.
Okay.
And you can request those absentee ballots. You can see when it's in, so people are like, well, did they get it? Well, it'll show you, because I went on there and it looked and it said, okay, here's when it was mailed out and here's when it was received. And they even have it'll notify, or it'll change the status on there for when it's actually counted as well. So then you know that your ballot was handled and that it was counted. So
That's really cool.
We've had that process in Oklahoma, and we have a really good one in Oklahoma. There are some right now that are just trying to figure out mail voting now and expand it, but Oklahoma's had a really good, solid program for a long time, so it works really well and is well handled here in the state of Oklahoma, well tracked, very secure, that kind of thing. So if you're interested, check it out. Otherwise, go vote. We've got big ones here, but really here in Oklahoma City. That Congressional District 5 race on the Republican side is sort of the big race right now as far as elections go, plus all the local elections for state legislature that are out there, maybe some county races. And the big one, State Question 802, is Medicaid expansion that's on the ballot as well. That's been an often point of discussion. That's probably going to be a really close decision on that one. So we'll be waiting to see. Maybe we'll talk about it next week. I don't know. We may not have time, but maybe we will. So we'll see. So hope everybody is, again, having their voice be heard.
Yes, that's important.
Nabil, I think I don't know, this is probably a regular length episode, but here we are.
It is a regular length episode.
Why wouldn't it be? So again, we appreciate everybody coming back every week here on Talking Real. We value our listeners very much and your feedback. So if you've got any questions or feedback or anything like that, hit us up, email us, podcast@okrealtors.com.
That's right. And just like you, we value recommendations. So share this podcast with a friend.
Please do. And until next time, we'll see you next Tuesday on Talking Real.